you're on the job and capturing your footage, it can often feel like if you don't capture it perfectly in camera, that your final product won't live up to your expectations. Your stability, framing, movement, all the things and more that go into capturing your shots. That's why today, I want to go over 5 ways of how you can save your footage in post using editing techniques. One of the first methods of fixing your footage that we're going to talk about is using Warp Stabilizer. Warp Stabilizer is a tool I use inside of Premiere Pro and After Effects on quite a bit of my footage. It has a questionable reputation and there's a lot of memes out there about putting it on all your footage. So before we get any further into it, I do want to mention, I would not suggest applying Warp Stabilizer to all your footage. It can be a bad habit to get into. But that being said, let's dive into applying it to some clips from a recent shoot that I did. It's a very powerful tool and I often leave the settings as is when I drag it onto my clips. The only option I change is the smoothness, which I often bring down to 5% to prevent any excessive warping on the clips. You can also open up the Enhanced tab and click on Detailed Analysis if you want to spend a little bit more time going through your clip. I often find that it works best on clips that don't have a lot of movement. If you have a lot of movement going on, especially in the background, it can introduce some weird warping. So I suggest playing around with it, trying it out on your clips, and seeing how it works for you. Now let's chat about the horizon line in our footage. Fixing the horizon line is actually really easy and you can do it inside of any editing software by changing the rotation of your clip. And you'll know if your horizon line is off if your footage looks a little crooked, which in this case you can see in the background it looks a little off center, a little crooked. So I can simply fix it by changing the rotation, then scaling in the footage. That way I don't have any black bars showing. Oh yeah. Now, one of my favorite methods of fixing my footage in post is using keyframes. When I originally shot this footage, I often did a lot of panning in and panning out with my camera, but it didn't really have the effect that I wanted it to. So I used keyframing to accentuate that and make it stronger in post. Really easy to do just by going to the beginning of our clips, clicking the keyframe option on our scale, and then scaling into whatever value we want up until the end of the clip. I oftentimes choose values between 140 and 200. Given that I'm shooting in 4K, I can zoom in quite a lot without losing any detail. This is a great way to add a lot more impact and movement to your videos, make them look a little bit more unique and not as static. Definitely feel free to play around with the keyframe interpolation because that can give you different results such as ease in, ease out, Bezier. Play with them all, see what looks best to you. You can also use the transform tool inside of Premiere Pro to do your keyframing. And this tool is great because you can add motion blur natively inside of it by deselecting the shutter angle and setting it to either 90, 180, or 360. 360 will be that maximum amount of motion blur, while 180 will be that perfect middle ground, and 90 is the least amount of motion blur. It's often overlooked, but the framing of your videos is actually really important. The intro sequence that you guys saw that I created at the beginning was created on a 3840 by 1632 sequence inside of Premiere Pro, which is that ultra wide look, and it gives you those black bars on the top and bottom, which leaves you with room to move your clips up and down because you're losing all that data on the top and bottom. So oftentimes I will move my framing up or down to make sure that it fits my sequence settings. Now, if you're just creating your sequences on a normal 3840 by 2160, you can simply just zoom in your clips. That way you have more wiggle room to move your clips up and down. Love me some seltzer. You can also keyframe the framing of your videos, which will add some movement in post, which I often like to do, which often makes those clips look way cooler. Now let's talk about one of my favorite methods for stabilizing my footage, and that is using the tracking tool inside of After Effects. Let's go ahead and right click on a clip inside of Premiere Pro and click on Replace with an After Effects composition. Once you do that, it'll import it into After Effects for you. So let's quickly dive into After Effects here and I'll show you guys how to do it in a few easy steps. So as you can see guys, I have the clip here inside of After Effects. So first thing, let's make sure we have our clip selected. Then we're gonna go to our tracker tool and click Stabilize Motion. Now if you click on your middle mouse button, you can move your canvas around. Let's scroll in using the mouse button and let's make this box bigger so it's easier to move around. Then I'm going to drag the box onto the nose here, and then I'm just going to move this box to a point here where I think that looks good. And then let's just go ahead and press the play option, which is going to analyze this clip for us and track that point. Normally this tool is pretty good at tracking your point as long as this box has enough information to work with. Sometimes you're going to have to manually set those points, but for right now it looks like it's doing pretty good. But if for some reason it loses track, let's go ahead and just click right here which will stop it. Let's just go ahead a frame here, and we can click and drag this and just manually set the points, which is often what I do to speed up the process. I don't know about you guys, but my computer is starting to get a little dated and struggles with doing things like this. Just going through easily like this, moving the point and keeping it nice and steady, not making any abrupt movements. Very small movements here. Once we've got the points that we want and we've tracked it as much as we want to, let's go ahead and click apply here. Press OK. Now if we play through it, you'll see that it's tracked to the movement of his nose here, but we need to fix the canvas because we have these black bars showing. So let's go ahead and scale this in a little bit and then start moving the position around to the best of our ability. So now we don't have those black bars in the shot. Now you guys can see in the background, these lines are crooked. We can move the horizon line or the rotation of this to fix the horizon line. So let's go ahead and just move the rotation to the left until the lines in the background are pretty much straight up and down. Now that looks pretty even, but if we zoom out, I think we've got a little bit of black showing up here, so let's just scale in a tad bit more. Now if we fit this to our canvas and play through it, the horizon line is fixed and we've got this nice tracking stabilized motion for the clip. I feel like that just looks better afterwards because it's lined up, the horizon line is clean. That's just a really easy way to track your subject or point of interest in After Effects. So guys, I hope this video helped you and gave you some ideas and solutions on how to fix your footage in post. Nobody's perfect. You guys saw the before and afters from some of those videos. I needed to make those changes to make the entire video look more cohesive and put together. I use these methods all the time. I highly suggest using them and trying them out, playing with each method and seeing how it works for you. Let me know which method was your guys' favorite by leaving a comment in the comments below. Be sure to leave the video a like if it helped you and you enjoyed it, and subscribing if you want to see more from me. I try and post every week for you guys. So as always guys, I appreciate all of you watching and supporting my videos. I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.